Even if you're good, somebody else could bump into you. That's true. Derek thought about it some more. Then he watched another performer, a woman, doing tricks with two small dogs. One was fluffy and cream-colored, while the other was cool gray. The woman held up rings. Both animals jumped through the openings, happy to receive a treat at the end. Derek brightened. Maybe I'll teach crabs how to race. Crabs? It could work. With some amusement, the gang continued to peruse the stalls. Elizabeth found some earrings with a dangling, misprinted globe that everyone laughed at. Cove picked out a blob as Iceland, but Derek thought it had to be Greenland. You know, this is a world that looks like 9 continents? You know, this is a world with what looks like 9 continents. I think you're both wrong. No, it's Australia. That's cute. You agreed with your sister. Elizabeth makes a good point. Suddenly, Cove froze. You stared at him, and then tried to see what caught his attention. You saw a familiar face down the way. It all made sense. Between the crowds, his bright hair stood out like a neon bowl in a kitchen sink. It was Jeremy. Jeremy slowly drifted his eyes down the street, and his eyes widened in mutual recognition. He definitely noticed you. Derek frowned and Cove sighed. None of them were happy to see him again. I would wave at Jeremy. I'd acknowledge his presence. He did not wave back. Oof. Cold shoulder. Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. Her gaze swept over Jeremy without a hint of a clue. Jeremy simply scoffed to himself and wandered deeper into the crowd of people. Derek relaxed and exhaled loudly. I'm glad he's not going to start anything. He peeked over at Elizabeth with a tiny smirk. See, that was the mean kid.
What?
Huh? She still didn't get it. That first summer day didn't make nearly as much of an impression on her as it did for Derek. But he smiled and waved it off. Just forget about him. I already have. Damn! He laughed, and Cove smiled slightly. He seemed in a much better mood now that Jeremy was gone. Your eyes wandered over to where Jeremy disappeared. He hadn't forgotten the day you met him either. He was only going to be in town for a vacation with the parents he hated. That glimpse was probably the last time we would ever see of him. You mentioned that realization to everybody. Jeremy's probably gone for good now. It's time for him to go back to wherever he's from. I know damn well that he's listening to that right now. I am being eavesdropped by Jeremy, and this is going to backfire on me. But I want that tea. I want that drama. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, guess you don't have to worry about that guy anymore. Derek kicked a little rock in the road. It clattered forward and then rolled under a stall. But I still think it's kind of sad Jeremy turned out to be, well, like he is. It would have been nice to make another friend. Cove shook his head. He was clearly not broken over what might have been. Maybe he'll become nicer in the future. Elizabeth rolled her eyes at the strange farewell to the odd boy, not interested in the slightest. Bowl cut Jeremy. She clearly didn't understand his impact, and at this point she didn't want to understand. You couldn't help but wonder, though, what would happen if you interacted with Jeremy more? Jeremy was unlike anyone you ever met before. You thought he was kind of pitiful. He was pitiful, because like he's frustrated, he's pissed, he's angry. But he's also in a tough situation. You and the group moved from the stall and from Jeremy. It didn't take long for everyone to return to the joking. You all enjoyed what was little time you had left. As Elizabeth mentioned, the hour was almost up. The little trip had flown by. I let you. Must have been waiting for you now. Derek bounced on the balls of his feet.
Okay.
Come on, guys. Let's get going so we can eat. I'm starving. Honestly, I can't wait. I love food. Cove stretched one of his arms lazily. Let's go then. You looked at him appraisingly. What? Jeremy and Shiloh have their own dating visual novel. So Jeremy is Jerkhole, and then Shiloh is Freckles, right? You're just clarifying. So interesting. Very. I am willing to bet that Jeremy's gonna look freaking like jaw-dropping amazing when he becomes an adult. Yep, got it. You asked Cove to carry you back to the house. You nodded at him. Crystal, I know you too well. You're gonna say number 1. Am I right? Am I right? Click. Hey, Cove? Yeah? Yeah? Could you... You want to carry him? Could you carry me back home? What? Cove smiles, said he was amused, while the tilt of his eyebrow was full of disbelief. You explained you wanted a piggyback ride. You didn't want to walk back. You told him on a special occasion. You decided to let it go. Crystal, 1 or 3? Or 2. 2 is kind of good if you're just trying to cover yourself up, trying to play it smooth, you know what I mean? I was thinking, how do you want to roll this? One. Okay. You explained that you wanted a piggyback ride. I want a piggyback ride. You're the only one big enough to give me one. Cove sighed and shook his head. Elizabeth and Derek became a chorus of laughter. Come on, Cove, it'll be fun. All right. You're strong enough, Cove. Cove stepped over to you. He looked like he couldn't believe what he was doing. Your lips quirked into a large smile. Ah, yeah! Thanks! He carefully crouched down in front of you so that you could climb on. It wasn't hard to climb on. He slipped his arms under your legs and did his best to lift you. It was all wobbly, but he still managed to stand all the way up. Elizabeth watched with a smirk on her face while Derek laughed even harder. It was fair to say that your antics were entertaining. You were glad Cove went with it. Cove carried you home contentedly. Other than a few good-natured jokes at your expense, he didn't complain. He made it all the way back to your house without putting you down. It was a pleasant walk home, and in no time, you had made it back. Derek got into the front door and held it open for everyone as you each moseyed on inside. The 3 parents were still in the kitchen. They looked up and waved. Welcome back, everyone. Giga Chad. You made it just in time. I hope you're hungry. When Cove brought you inside, the parents couldn't help but notice the odd conveyance. Your moms were unsure, but Mr. Holden raised an eyebrow. Did you pull something for? I'm okay. Aw. Ah, Cove, you've gotten so strong. And reliable, too. What a guy. Cove rolled his eyes at the commentary and then started walking to your couch. He bent down to let yourself plop back on the couch. Thanks for the lift. Cove exhaled loudly and shook his arms. He just seemed relieved that he made it. So, did everyone have a nice time out? She gestured for the people to have a seat at the table. Plates and silverware had already been placed out. You took your normal seat. Elizabeth sat across from you, and Derek took the seat to your left. Cove sat on your right. Oh yeah, we had a great time. It was fine. It was nice. Yeah, the bank heist went off without a hitch. Your joke got some chuckles going around the table. That's good in my book. Casually, Mr. Holden sat in the empty seat across from Cove. He smiled at you and all the other kids. Mom set down a platter full of water glasses on the table. She looked down at the gathering. It's a good thing we have 8 chairs. I can't remember the last time we had a group this big over for a meal. Mr. Holden encourages bank heist activities. Man, he knows we're about that life. He knows we're about that life. Could you pass the drinks down to the other side? Make sure you all get one. Sure. Those close to the cups obligated and started offering waters around. As everything got set up, Ma chided Elizabeth to take her elbows off the table. No. And you shouldn't slouch. She pointed to Mr. Holden. Oh, man! Who was leaning forward with both arms on the table. Oops! Mr. Holden seems unsure about the sudden attention and carefully rearranged his posture into something suitable for a fancy dinner. That's so cute. He smiled sheepishly at Ma. She's topping him. Elizabeth rolled her eyes and Ma gave a level look with her. You shouldn't be so impolite to a guest in the house either. Elizabeth groaned, long suffering. That's a good use of. That was a cute use of repetition. Ma giggled and Mr. Holden chuckled. A lot of you could learn a thing or two from Derek. He has the best manners here. They're so adopted in the family. Uh-huh. Derek blushed, but it was true. His posture was upright and formal. He even held his fork gracefully. His table manners, on top of all of his attempts to aid her parents, made him the model of meal attendee behavior. It's nothing. Mr. Holden, Mr. Holden Cove is adopted into the Coon family. It's true though. You've been a lovely guest. I've noticed that too. It's always nice when you stay over, Derek. Derek smiled and sat a little taller in his chair. Do you have anything good to say about our other guest? She looked deliberately at Cove with a teasing smirk. Or is there just nothing to say? Well, Cove is my number 1, but he does clean his hands by wiping them on it. Pretty relatable, I'm not gonna lie. But he still does clean his hands by wiping them on his pants. Cove frowned at that and absentmindedly brushed his hand on his pant legs. Your mom's laughed slightly. Elizabeth, you should know, after all these years, Cove is hardly a guest anymore. Cove smiled awkwardly. Thanks. I want to tease sister. How do I tease? Manners, schmanners. Who cares? It's not the big deal. You tease Cove for something. I wanted to tease sister. Gosh darn it. The only answer they don't have. But I'm going to tease Cove. I don't think I'm going to let the pants thing go. Cove looked over at the window, not wanting to face the truth. Everyone ate their meal together and continued to hang out for the afternoon. After the food, you and others played a couple games and talked about the plans for the upcoming year. As time passed by quickly, and soon it was time to part ways. As Mr. Holden talked to your moms and Cove drifted over to you, knowing that as soon as his dad finished up, he'd be leaving. Wiping your hands on your pants is normal. You are obviously impolite. Your moms, both of your moms would be very upset with you. You know that, Crystal? Both of the moms. It'd be cool to stay, but we got some other stuff to do before everything closes today. Yeah, bye. Could you move? I need the phone. Cove raised an eyebrow, and Elizabeth impatiently gestured behind him. Cove realized he was standing right in front of where the receiver was placed. Honestly, given how often Coleman is here, that just seems like typical sibling behavior. He sidestepped out of the way and shook his head, clearly thinking Elizabeth was rushing too much. Your sister made a beeline for the phone and started dialing the number of what you figured was one of her friends. Knowing Elizabeth, she was going to be on there for a while. You, Cove, and Derek shuffled closer to the door. It seemed like Mr. Holden was wrapping up his conversation, so everyone started saying their various farewells.
Talk to you later.
I'll see you later, Cove. We gotta do this again sometime. Yeah, see you. Cove turned to you and smiled slightly. Bye for her. Ooh, 3 or 4. Chat, need your guidance.